Oh, hi. I was just reading books. Let's talk about Sonic the Hedgehog. All right, so Sonic is not a newer movie. It came out last year before everything kind of hit the fan. And it was in theaters before the quarantine and it had a chance to make some money. What can I tell you about Sonic the Hedgehog? I definitely played the game. I had a Sega growing up. I grew up with my parents divorced. So my mom had the Super Nintendo and my dad had the Sega Genesis. So you better believe it was the best of both worlds for me growing up. So yeah, I definitely played some Sonic. I haven't played any of the Sonic games in a long time, but I do know that the vast majority, I think I had a stroke. The vast majority of them are not good. Which is fine. But I remember having some fun with it and some of the iconic music and stuff like that. Green Hill Zone. That's like one of the most iconic themes in all video games. You know, you play that Green Hill Zone theme, everyone knows what it is. Who played Sonic before? Anyway, so when I remember seeing the initial trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog, and of course, Sonic was redesigned. Apparently, the folks at Paramount were expecting fan backlash, but just assumed that general audiences would be okay with it.
Meow?
But I guess the backlash was so strong, and Sega was like, listen, this is like our icon, man. We don't have a lot of them, so like, can you do something about this? And I'm sure the producers in the company talked with the director, whose name Fowler, I know his last name, Mr. Fowler. There we go. And they kind of figured out a way, like, all right, how many VFX shots are in the movie that include his face? You know, can we redo that? What would be the budget on that? And I guess they figured that it was worthwhile to redo the design, at least the face. I'm sure if some eagle-eyed viewers may notice, like, I don't know, a wide shot or something where his face was the original one. I didn't, but like I wasn't really looking for it anyway. Anyway, whatever. They made his face. It looks more like the original Sonic, you know, the OG Sonic.
Who's there?
Incidentally, like if you compare them, like the new face is definitely better. There's no question about it. But like the old face was more, I guess, photorealistic. When Sonic 2 comes out, which has already been announced, I'm sure the design will probably even look better. Obviously, staying true to the original design, but maybe a touch more photorealistic. Whatever. But anyway, fans were pretty happy about that redesign. You know, the power of the internet. Wow. And so the movie came out, and anytime like a video game movie comes out, you know, you always hear the same fucking thing from somewhere. This may be the best video game movie yet. Because the bar is so fucking low for video game movies. I don't know what the deal is. It's so hard to make a good video game movie. Well, here's part of the deal. Here, welcome to the segment of this. You know what happens? Like, I pretend to make a segment, and then that means I have to animate some stupid title screen while I sing a stupid theme over. What's the deal with video game movies? What's the deal?
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome. That probably took me like 40 minutes to put together. No lie. I suck at this shit. So I think if you look at like the early video games, we're talking like Sonic and even earlier than that, like Mario on the NES and shit. It's a very basic design. There's very kind of little story to go with. It's like, all right, how does it play? How does it look? How does it play? And those are the two most important things, you know, to early video games. And as we've advanced, you know, from, you know, we go to NES to Super Nintendo, GameCube, fucking Wii, and now we're at the Nintendo Switch. And that, not just Nintendo systems, but, you know, the other systems as well, PlayStations and your Xboxes. Stories have become more advanced. Productions have become bigger. There's more of them. They're bigger than movies, right? I mean, there are some huge games out there, and they're interactive. You know, what's better than like an interactive movie? Yeah, that's kind of what some video games are these days. So stories have become more complex. But at first, when we had video game movies, we had movies of those early video games that had little to no story. What do you have to go off of fucking Mario Brothers? You gotta, all right, he's a plumber of some sort. He goes down pipes. He's rescuing a princess after, Bowser, who's, I guess, a dinosaur-looking guy. Good go. And that gave us a fucking Super Mario Brothers movie. Anyway, that's not to say that there isn't a good video game movie out there. There's Mortal Kombat. That's fun. But also, there have been movies made of recent video games, like Assassin's Creed, or Tomb Raider, neither of which I've seen, because, video game movies. But really, good, yes, good review, yes. No, when it comes down to it, when you're making the movie, you have to, there's a middle ground there, and it's very tricky. You got to find what's an interesting story and tell that story in the best way that fits a film, not just the video game you're basing it on, but the film, but also include all of the elements that worked in the game somehow in a fucking movie and make that enjoyable. And make that enjoyable to watch. And how the fuck do you do that? Nobody knows, because a great video game movie doesn't exist. I don't know. I haven't seen Detective Pikachu, but I'm not holding my breath. But also, I think it helps to have lowered expectations when it comes to these films too. But who knows? We have the Uncharted movie coming up. And now that's going to be a tricky thing because, we got not an exciting director for that. And then Uncharted is such a great series because Naughty Dogs, what the fuck am I saying? This is cursed. I'm cursed. This is what the Sonic movie has done to my mind, ladies and gentlemen. This is, good God. All right. So, what I was going to say, let's back that one up. Okay. The thing about the Uncharted movie is that Naughty Dog are master storytellers. Uncharted, The Last of Us. They're so fucking good at what they do. However, the movie is trying to do, I guess, a prequel. So it's a young Nathan Drake and it's a young Sully, played by Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, respectively. Which, it seems like such a miscast to me. But, Tom Holland's a hot thing, so I get it. Hot thing, a hot commodity. That's, get your minds out of the gutter. But who knows? I'm not holding my breath for that one either. Do you want a sneak peek of the Uncharted movie? You ready? Here it is. I'm Tom Holland, and I'm Uncharted. That's it. Oh, good. Anyway, back to fucking Sonic. So, what do we have to go off of story? Whatever. There's a lot of crazy story in some of the Sonic games. I'm not going to pretend I'm familiar with any of it outside of like Chaos Emeralds being important. But as far as the movie is concerned, Sonic is raised by a fucking owl, and he escapes to Earth, to just be safe, I guess, because he has great power. And with great power, that's right. So eventually he's living in this town, hiding out in this town, Green Hills, which is like Green Hill Zone, which kind of threw me for a loop. Because in the beginning of the movie on his home planet, we see an area that very much resembles Green Hill Zone. But that wasn't Green Hill Zone because he goes to Green Hills on Earth. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Anyway, he's in a small town, Green Hills. He meets up with fucking James Marsden, who's just a small town sheriff. And James Marsden wants a little more in life. Listen, I remember James Marsden's character's name, so don't try and test me. I remember, okay? Anyway, James Marsden is there, and he wants a little bit more, so he's kind of applying to go to San Francisco to be a cop. He wants to save a life. He wants the power to save a life. Fine. That may or may not come into play later. Anyway, Sonic is doing his thing. He accidentally erupts in explosion of energy like an EMP, which of course some scientist in the movie has to explain. Electromagnetic pulse. We get it. There's like 30 movies out there that explain what an EMP is, like that came out 20 years ago. Anyway, the government for some reason decides to stick Dr. Robotnik on the case, played by Jim Carrey. And so what we're left with is a road trip movie. Sonic needs to get his rings, which are basically operate as the portals that Doctor Strange, can use. And he accidentally warped them to San Francisco. James Marsden is going to go on a road trip with Sonic because he feels a sense of guilt for getting Sonic in trouble. And then Jim Carrey is going to improv his way through the rest of the movie. And that's basically it. And at the end of the day, it's okay. Like, there's some aspects that work surprisingly well in this movie that I wasn't expecting to like. And then the rest of it was kind of exactly as I expected. So as the movie started, I was kind of interested in a bit in the lore and how this was going to play out. And then, like, the movie throttles back big time. And it nothing feels very, I don't know. I hate to use the word genuine, because it's Sonic the Hedgehog, man. I'm not expecting Richard Linklater to make a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I just want to put that out there. But it feels very it feels like a paycheck movie sometimes. Over the course of the movie, of course, James Marsden and Sonic kind of build this friendship, and they get into these silly hijinks and stuff like that. I read online that there was an attempt to move this away from being a straight-up comedy and more of an action film. But I didn't feel like the action so much. There's a couple of scenes that kind of feel like the Quicksilver scenes from the recent X-Men movies, but just not quite as exciting. It's not as like awe-inspiring as those were to watch. At least the first one from Days of Future Past. Maybe it's just because we're watching like a bunch of CG run around. It doesn't have the same effect as Evan Peters running around. Oh my, And then I don't know. It just kind of drags. The movie drags, and you're kind of waiting for it. And once it does reach the action climax, it's just kind of this bit of an extended silly chase where both Sonic and Dr. Robotnik are kind of very self-aware and just exclaiming things to the audience, just saying things out to the audience. Like Sonic is running up one of the pyramids in Egypt, and Dr. Robotnik, fucking Jim Carrey's like, "You can't do that. That's one of the 7 wonders of the world." What does that mean? So I think it took me until the end of the movie, because I'm a fucking dumbass, to realize this is not a family film so much. It's very much more of a kids movie. Pixar, they make family films. And I'm not just talking about like, movies where like there's an adult joke every now and again. It's like, no, they make stories and characters that can appeal to something in both the child in you and the adult, to children and adults. But this, I don't know, aside from hardcore Sonic fans, I can't even say hardcore Sonic fans would love this either. I don't know. I think this is very much like a kid's movie, kind of through and through. And just the dramatic beats are very like, oh, that was it? Okay. As far as the story goes. And like, so there are some cool moments for sure. Definitely when Jim Carrey and Sonic are like on screen together, that's the most interesting stuff happening. So obviously it begs the question, why? Why did we start with this small town introduction to the hero? It's very much the first Thor movie, and like you've seen the Thor stories that have happened in the MCU after the first Thor. It's like, why do you want to tell that story? It's like, well, to an extent, like you got to tell like the origin story. The origin story can be so boring sometimes, and so this is kind of like the Sonic origin story. Listen, I was getting awfully sleepy like an hour into this movie, but fortunately there was some Twizzlers nearby, so I powered through it, man. I don't think they've worn off yet. So we get to the end of the movie, and everything wraps up nicely, and in a kind of like a warm way. It's not completely earned, but it's okay. It will suffice. And then they, of course, sow the seeds for like, all right, now the Sonic story you want to see is gonna happen next. There's, Robotnik with his classic, outfit and mustache, and his look. And it's like, oh, is Tails going to come on by? Yes. Spoilers. Sorry. I'm supposed to say spoilers first, right? Listen, if at this point you haven't seen the Sonic movie, you probably don't give a shit. So, spoilers. Tails shows up at the end of the movie. Anyway, I don't know. It's very middle of the road. There's some stuff that works a lot better than I thought, and then a lot of the stuff is just kind of down here. And sometimes I just felt bad for James Marsden having to talk to a tennis ball during the course of the film. But hopefully he got a decent paycheck. For what it's worth, I think the filmmaker, Mr. Fowler, seems very passionate about Sonic and about getting this movie right. At least that's how his press releases read. And I know he has work in visual effects, so that aspect is important to him. And since the sequel is on the way, I do hope that they take advantage of what did work in this film. And have a little more fun with it and get into the lore of Sonic and the Chaos Emeralds and blah, 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 blah. Like, show us something fantastical we haven't seen before. Don't show us the first Thor movie again with Sonic, So at this point, I think I'm probably a little harder on video game movies than most, but, maybe that goes for all movies. I don't know. It takes a lot for me to like a movie sometimes. And Sonic did not have it. But I have a feeling like if you dig, what you saw in the trailer, you'll probably be cool with it. So check out. I've checked out. That's what I've fucking done. I can't even talk anymore. So yeah, I would give this again a 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10. It's like half of a real movie, right? And the other half is just filler. Jim Carrey was fun, I guess. It wasn't like, Ace I can't even say Ace Ventura. Jim Carrey, is that still fun? I don't know. I remember I watched Ace Ventura recently, and it was kind of weird. The first one. Anyway, so that's it. It's a movie, I guess. You can watch it. Goodbye.